if you have to force it, it's probably not right. Like, let's just be honest. If you have to force a job, if you have to force a relationship, if you have to force it, it's probably just not the right fit for you. And I think we're afraid to acknowledge this to ourselves because it's like so obvious. Like for me, I like to say, if it ain't flowing, I ain't going, right? A party, a relationship, whatever it is, if it ain't flowing, I ain't going. And that might seem like a lazy man's way out, and in a sense it is. But the sage, the mystic, is the enlightened lazy man. They are the enlightened one that realizes, hey, if I have to force anything, if I have to force a relationship, it's actually better for me to leave that relationship with dignity and respect than it is for me to, try to uphold some monogamous virtue signaling value that I think is important when really deep down in my belief system, I don't really care. So really what we're talking about is Wu Wei. This is a notion from Zen that Alan Watts talked a lot about. Wu Wei. It means non-action, but non-action doesn't mean that you don't provide effort, that you don't give your effort to what? To the things that fit. So I think when we hear this a lot in like spiritual circles and manifestation and stuff like that, when we hear things like, if it ain't flowing, I ain't going, when we hear things like, don't force stuff in your life, that doesn't mean to not put effort in. It just means put effort into the things that you care about. Put effort into the things that you aren't forcing. What relationships, what creative projects, what jobs in your life did you not have to put any force into, but that you were gladly and happily able to put effort into? That's the real question. Because if you can find a relationship that you're willing and able and ready to put effort into it, and you don't have to force it, but that energy is there, that motivation's naturally there, then that's how you know that's a path forward for you. So it's not about not taking action. You need to take action in life. Life is action. It's just that we don't want to misplace our action. We don't want to misplace our energy into things that aren't a right fit. It's like a puzzle piece, right? Like you want the puzzle piece to fit nicely and flawlessly into the puzzle, and then that's what gives you energy and motivation to complete a puzzle, is that you're actually fitting the pieces correctly. If you're just like trying to jam all the pieces together and they're not producing a coherent image, then you're not going to have the motivation to finish the puzzle. It's the fact that you're fitting them correctly that the motivation, if you're a puzzle person or maybe you like Legos, whatever your thing is, whatever it is, if you're fitting it correctly, then the motivation will be there. So with Wu Wei, at least my understanding of it, it's about flowing with life like a samurai, not misplacing energy, which means having strong boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing when to say, hey, it ain't flowing, I ain't going. I'm not going to force myself to go to this event. I'm not going to force myself to be in this relationship. If it ain't flowing, it ain't going. But if it is flowing, I'm going, right? If it's flowing, then I'm going to put the energy into that. And I'm going to gladly put my energy into that, and putting my energy into the things that are fit properly in my life that make me happy, that hit on all my top values and give me a sense of intrinsic motivation and inspiration. That's where I'm going to put my energy, and that's where I'm going to focus my attention. The days of forcing relationships and even jobs are over. There's so many ways to make money. There's so many jobs you can find that are perfect fits for you. This is something I realized. Like, it took me so long to realize that, like, with work and obviously with creative endeavors, there's a perfect fit for you somewhere. Like have some standards, you know what I'm saying? Have some standards. Don't just force stuff in your life. Don't feel obliged to do things you don't want to do. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But just because there may be a lot of things you don't want to do does not mean that there's a lot of things that you can do and that you want to do as well. So it's just a matter of choice, of choosing for me. I hope this helps, the insights I'm sharing. And for you, maybe if you kind of see what I'm saying here with this sort of random talk that's going all over the place. I just realized I haven't made a video like this in over 3 months, so forgive me. But for you, maybe you can see the value in this of like, yeah, it does suck forcing things. Like we can just acknowledge together here right now, it sucks to force things, doesn't it? It sucks to force things. For me, when I'm making a video and I have to force it, I'm like, nah. I'm like, fuck it, I ain't posting it. The best videos I create are the ones I don't have to force. The energy's just there, the insight's there, the idea's there, and I don't have to overcompensate. It just flows. Well, likewise with life, likewise with your relationships, likewise with anything you do. If you can find that flow, that's the direction to go. If you can find the flow, that's the direction to go. If you're forcing it, if you're rationalizing to yourself the benefits when deep down you have this sort of feeling of like, your heart's saying no, but your mind's going, well, there's this and this and this, but your heart's saying no, then you know. If your heart's saying no, then you know. If it ain't flowing, I ain't going. Follow the flow. That's Wu Wei. And for me, that's where you find the greatest joy. That's where your natural strengths and abilities, your natural gifts can flourish and come to fruition, because you can't have a beautiful, delicate flower bloom when you're trying to force it to grow. It ain't gonna bloom. It's only gonna bloom when it's delicately watered and taken care of, and it's flowing, it's organic. There's no heavy winds that are going to crush it. It's not like that's how you get a garden to bloom. And likewise with the inner garden, with the soul, with the spirit. It's just like a garden. Take care of it. Don't force anything to grow. Don't try to, push it. I got to get this relationship to work because I've been in it for 2 years. Even though it's over. Right? I gotta force myself to accept this job even though I hate it and there's a million other ways to make money. No, it's like, hold on a second. There's got to be a better way. And that better way will feel like a better way. That better way will flow. That better way will have the energy of my authentic fingerprint and expression. And chances are, if it's flowing, then I'm going. And that means that if it's flowing, I'm not going to have to force anything. And it's just going to naturally come to fruition. And that's the joy of living an awakened life, of living a spiritually aligned life, is that you're not forcing anything. I mean, that is, in a sense, the way of the sage, of the mystic, is that they just don't force anything. Like, think of Gandalf, think of a wizard. Think of a spiritual master. They're not like stressing over their job and forcing it to like work. It's like, no, they're just like, nope, if it ain't flowing, I ain't going. And there's some deep wisdom there, which is not that you're going to be a lazy bum and just watch Netflix all day and eat Cheetos. It's actually that there's a very unique path for you. And if you hit on it right, you don't have to force anything. Because the energy's there, the motivation's there, the inspiration's there, and I'm saying the same thing over and over and over again to try to get this idea through to you that you do not need to force your life. So hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too much ranting and rambling. And consider this idea of Wu Wei. Consider this idea of not forcing anything. Make those changes in your life and see what happens. Peace.